A few weeks ago, I was playing Andrew online, and this Andrew right here, McMuffin Man. He's the one on the top left, McMuffin Man 1241, and if you look at it, he has in this game. This is the second one. So the first game that we were playing, and I had a really good advantage, and he just had like 1 or 2 pieces left, and I promoted my pawn and turned it into a queen. I automatically turned it into a queen, but when I put it into a queen, it put it into a stalemate, and I ended up losing the game. I went from going to win, assuredly going to win, to assuredly I just lost. In the blink of an eye, it just went from great to terrible in the blink of an eye. And then literally 2 or 3 days later, we were playing again, and we was in the exact same situation where I was about ready to promote a pawn, and I was getting ready to click the button to take it into a queen to put me into another stalemate again, and I was like, oh, I can't do this. And so I made it into a measly knight, and he was like, oh, I thought you were going to do it again. And so I didn't, and I ended up promoting it. You'll see on this sheet here, I've got 2 queens, 2 knights, bishop, and I had a rook. He ended up taking my rook, and it's still, if you look at it, it took me 74 moves to beat him. But I ended up taking his last pawn at 50 moves. And so 24 moves later, I finally cornered him into where I was able to win. And put him into a checkmate.
You have to go move over.
But there's a story in the Bible where the Israelites were they were slaves in Egypt, and for 450 years they were slaves. And then God had sent 10 plagues on the Egyptians to try to get Pharaoh to change his mind about letting his people go. And when they finally decided to let them go after the 10th plague, Pharaoh changed his mind and went after them. Now Pharaoh went after him with the entire brunt of his Egyptian army. He had his chariots, his charioteers, his foot soldiers, all of them trained soldiers. And the Israelites, when they're leaving, they had their livestock, their children, their elderly, their wives. They're carrying all their stuff, and so they're at an extreme disadvantage. And they're just plowing along as fast as they could go, but the Egyptians were just making up time on them like they were going backwards. And finally, they were cornered. They had the Egyptians in front of them, and they had the Red Sea behind them. They had nowhere else to go. And it seemed like the Egyptians had just put them into check. But let's read if I read the passage for you. Exodus chapter 14, 10 through 14. When Pharaoh drew near, the people of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians were marching after them, and they feared greatly. And the people of Israel cried out to the Lord. They said to Moses, is it because there are no graves in Egypt that you have taken us away to die in the wilderness? What have you done to bringing us out of Egypt? Is not this what we said to you in Egypt? Leave us alone that we may serve the Egyptians. For it would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the wilderness. And Moses said to the people, fear not, stand firm, and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will work for you today. For the Egyptians whom you see today, you shall never see again. The Lord will fight for you, and you have only to be silent. You see, when you have God in your sight, even what appears to be certain defeat or certain death or certain failure, it never is. It may seem like you're losing on paper, but if you look at the board of life, it may appear one-sided, but it's not. How many of you have ever been routing somebody in a game, and then all of a sudden you make a bad move, and then all of a sudden you just blows up and you lose? You seem like you're winning, and it's like, I got this, and the next thing you know, I'm toast, I'm done. How did this happen? My queen fell asleep. How did this happen? But I do that all the time. But it's different with Christians. Even when we lose, we still win. The great New Testament evangelist Paul used to tick off all of his enemies when he would say things like, you know what? If you kill me, I'm just going to go to heaven and be with Jesus for the rest of eternity. If you don't kill me, I'm just going to go around and keep preaching Christ all the time. So if either way you do it, I still win. Just make up your mind and let me know what's going to happen. But his enemies were like, man, if we kill him, he's happy. If we let him live, he's happy. What are we doing here? What can we do? So there's no way that it was a no-win situation for his enemies, but it was a can't-lose situation for Paul. My question for you today is, are you sure, if in the game of life, are you sure that you would win? When all the pieces are off the board, would you be a winner? And some of us, we get to live a long life, but even if you get to live a long life, you're still watching every one of your pieces get taken off the board, and eventually it's just yourself, your keys. Because other people were gone, just like that. How many of y'all got beat by Andrew in 4 moves? Gone, just like that. Before you even knew the game started, the game was over. How many of y'all saw in the news where a 5-year-old kid got landed on by somebody who was jumping to commit suicide, and the 5-year-old kid died? That's tragic. We don't know when our time is over. We don't. I mean, that 5-year-old didn't think he was going to die that day, but we don't know. But there is a way. The Bible says in 1 John 5:13 that we can know for sure that we will have eternity with Christ. And all it says is Romans 9:9-10. If you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For with the heart one believes and is justified, and with the mouth one confesses and is saved. Today's kind of been a very fun day. Get together and have some fun and just enjoy each other. But if you want to know more about how to make sure that you're a winner in the game of life, come talk to me afterwards. Come talk to Rebecca or Jessica or Andrew, and we can help you with that. We'd love to have you come to our Wednesday night youth groups. If you can't make it on Wednesday night, we have Sunday morning church, 9:30 or 9:15 for Sunday school. Church is at 10:30. And we have calendars that's got all of our upcoming days.